And we are live. Welcome to the Standout Business Show, where it's all about making a bigger difference by doing business differently. I'm Brad Powell, and today we're talking about the secret to minimalist marketing. So, one of the truths for practically everyone that I know who started their own business is that you probably didn't start your business because you loved to do marketing. And if your business is kind of small, either you just work for yourself or you have this small group of people that you're working with, how can you compete with the giant big ones who have a huge budget and a huge team to make their budget be executed? So I'd like you to meet today's guest, Sarah Block. She's the founder of her tiny marketing agency, and she's been going to join us today to talk about her secrets to creating a bigger impact with your marketing with less time and less money, and with strategies that are exactly the right size fit for your small business. So if you want to see how you can stand out in a big way, even if you have a tiny team, then stay tuned. And with that, let's start the show. All right, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's start by taking a look at the landscape of the small business world and this challenge that they're all facing with how do they do their marketing and how do they get this job done? And often what I think is probably the bigger deal is just people have a very sort of misfit idea of what marketing actually is and what they should be focusing on. So what do you see as in your world, the biggest challenges that the people who you work are facing?
Well, we're always told to just get started. We have this need to research and blah, 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 but we're using that as a way to procrastinate and not do the thing that we're meant to be doing. But because we're all hearing this advice, just do it, we are just doing it, and we're doing it everywhere. We're marketing the way we see competitors or the big guys market, even if we're a small business or just have a tiny marketing department. And it becomes overwhelming, and you end up treading water on every channel in every category because you're trying to do it all, and you really don't need to. You need to first sell the thing to a few people and get their feedback so you can understand how they found you. How did they discover you existed? What challenges were they going through? What did their transformation look like? And then you can build your marketing around that. So first, sell the thing before you start marketing.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. I mean, there's something that Seth Godin says related to this, which is, you don't need a giant audience. You really don't need to be, along the lines of, say, what Gary Vaynerchuk suggests, where you're on all the platforms and you're churning out a lot of content and you're sort of showing up everywhere all the time as often as you can. Much more to the point is, if you have something that people want, and you can find out, like, what do people want that I could actually do something, do some help with, you put that together and you get this small group of people, like 5 of them, who say, yes, I want it, and they buy it and they use it and they like it. Well, they'll tell their friends, and they'll bring their friends to whatever it is that you're up to. And then you're kind of done. Like, that can build on itself. And this is, to me, it's almost the inverse of the way most people think about what they need to be doing to sell their product.
Yeah, you will find people who, like, in general, I talk to a lot of business owners, and the first year of your business, you have a ton of people that want to support you, and they're willing to put their money on the line to support you and see you grow. That dies out over time. People are not so willing to put their money on the line to have you test it out. But that first year they are. And you can use those as case study clients. Discover who it is that you have helped the most and what it looked like. And then you can build your marketing around that. I have a hard 1x4 strategy that I do with marketing where I'm not doing all the things. I'm just doing what matters and sticking to that. You only need to be on one channel. You only need one core content or visibility piece of the pie of marketing in an outreach strategy with one target customer. As you start doing these case study clients at the beginning of your business, you'll discover who you help the best, and you'll have that ideal target customer that you can transform them to their best version. And then once you start speaking to them and building your marketing just around their challenges and what transformation they want, you're going to see that selling gets so much easier and your content will sell for you.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let me just review that. So it's 1x4. Is the first element the thing that I am offering? Is that one offer? Is that part of the 1x4?
One target customer.
Okay.
One target customer, one core channel, one core content, and one core outreach strategy. How are you getting new people in your sales pipeline? It doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, first of all, being able to focus, like I think in the world of the internet and the world of social media, there's this promise, this elusive promise that, oh, now we're connected to the entire world. Of course, the world is our oyster. We can reach anyone, anywhere, all over the planet. This is great. And of course, the problem with that is, anyone, anywhere is too broad.
It really is. It doesn't help at all when you're trying to serve everyone and solve all the problems. And you mentioned is one core offer part of it. And that makes it a lot easier. If you have one target customer with one core offer, that makes it so much easier because you'll know exactly what to say, what challenges you're solving, and you can really optimize your processes around that offer so it's the most profitable that it can be. But what people are missing is the relationship aspect. So yes, you are connected to everyone in the world. Thank you, internet. But so is everyone else. And they're burned out and they don't want to hear your content. They don't want it thrown at their face. They want relationships and they want to curate the content that they see based off of their own challenges. Because, innately, we're all selfish. We all just want to know about us and what would help us.
Yeah, right. Okay, so when you apply that to your outreach strategy and kind of the content of what your message is going to be, what you're talking about when you're sharing your ideas and your messaging, and you're focused on building that relationship, what are the strategies that you help coach people through in terms of, well, I want to put this out. What are the things that I want to be talking about? Like, how do I line them up so that I'm creating basically kind of a narrative arc of here's what you need to know in order to know that it will be good for us to work together.
The first thing I do is a stakeholder call with internal stakeholders first that are customer facing. So many times businesses are ignoring the customer service department, the sales department, and just focusing on, this is the marketing department or the product company or product department. But the customer service department and sales department, they have such amazing insights that we're missing out on because of these silos that we've created within our business. But if you can bring them all together in one conversation, you will actually uncover the entire buyer's journey that from the internal side. So customer service knows what the experience is like, what people are complaining about, what they wish was better, what problems they're having. While the sales department, they have really great insights on what's triggering people to buy. Why did they raise their hand in the first place? What is it that they're complaining about on these sales calls? What do they hope that they'll see in the end? And what goals are your customers having? By getting these parties together, then you can get really amazing insights and more of a full view of what customers are experiencing from beginning to end and how you can replicate that. When you're looking at like most successful customers, you want to replicate that experience, right? So you can only do that by talking to those internal stakeholders. And then,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
do you want to go?
No, that really resonates with me in the form of the customer service people and the sales people. They're in direct contact. So they're hearing all the questions, they're running into all the objections, and all of that material makes for great messaging content.
God, yes, it really, really does.
What are people asking? And what are they saying about like, what's their headache and what's their problem and what's keeping them from getting the thing that they really want that your business can help solve? And you take all of that, and that's your brilliant material for how to speak to them.
That's your messaging right there. And you
Yeah.
mentioned objections. Objections are the best source for marketing. I always have FAQ pages or FAQ sections on sales pages that are just a list of objections that my clients are hearing from customers, like the reasons people said no, so we can alleviate those objections before they ever happen. And this is the thing that helps shorten the sales cycle, is addressing those objections before they ever become objections. And what I was going to mention before is once I have the internal stakeholder interviews done, then I talk to your favorite customers, the ones that have just been beautiful and the experience was perfect. And then I need to know, like, how did they discover that you existed in the first place? My favorite question is, when you have a problem that you're going through, what's the first thing you do? What's the first step? And that right there will give us so much insight into like what medium your content should be in and what should your outreach strategy be. I've done this for so many clients and we've uncovered things that we never would have guessed. Like one of them, it would make sense for them to have an online course as a lead magnet because that's what their customers are doing. The first step they take when they're trying to solve a problem is, I want to learn really condensed. I don't want to have to Google everything. I want it all in one place. So they were requesting a digital course. And well, another one was, okay, I go to my referral network. I go to my trusted partners and I ask them what they would do. So in that situation, you need to come up with a way to build relationships with the people who would fall within that trusted circle. And there's a way to do that. You just have to know what watering holes you need to be in order to create that and manufacture that outreach strategy.
Yeah, I think that figuring out where your customer goes and hangs out to find out the stuff that they're looking for, like, and also just sort of what form they like to consume that information, whether it's an online course or whether they go on YouTube and binge a bunch of videos or whether they hang out on Instagram, like everybody has their favorite spot. And given the kind of thing, like the kind of problem that you're solving, there's different arenas.
There is, yeah. And because you're focusing on one target market, they're likely really similar in like how they solve their problems, where they spend their time online, what mediums they like. But having those customer interviews, and I also do a customer survey, that will tell us And whatever the majority is, that's the medium that we focus on. And that's how we create our outreach strategy and, generate leads. Because, marketing's job is to support sales, get more money in the door. And that's all I care about.
Right. All right. So let's say we've done a fair amount of research. We have a pretty good idea of not only who our target audience is and what they're up to and how they think and what their objections are and on and on, and also where they like to hang out. What are the strategies for now starting to meet them where they are and do it in a very time efficient and money efficient manner?
Yeah. So when you're first starting out, just, focus on one channel and building your authority there. So as an example, when I had decided I'm going to take tiny marketing full time, it was a side hustle for like a decade. I was a real chicken about going full time with it. But when I finally made that decision that I was going to make tiny marketing its own thing, I went all in on LinkedIn and building my authority there. I tested out a lot of different kinds of content to see what resonated. And then that's how I discovered what people cared most about was the strategies and systems I created as a one-person marketing department. So I went all in on that. And that's how I came up with tiny marketing. But doing that, testing out messaging strategies, I like to call them like sound bites. Testing out those sound bites and seeing what resonates with people will help you. And then build actual relationships. My goal is to take these conversations offline. So I have a ton of connections and I actually know so many of them. So creating a nurturing experience with your audience in order to build a real one-to-one relationship, because I focus on service businesses, you need to be trusted and you need to be liked and known. That's the way to do it. So build out your authority on one channel and start reaching out to your people to have one-to-one connection calls. And it's not to sell, it's to actually build relationships. A lot of the people in my LinkedIn network are my friends now, and I talk to them regularly. And it's because of this that my goal is to build real relationships, not sell.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's it's actually the only way to do it, as far as I can tell. I mean, there's so many people on all the platforms, but LinkedIn included, where they'll reach out to connect with you, and if you say yes, they immediately try and sell you something.
The pitch slap.
Here's my thing. Would you like to buy it? Or would you like to hire me?
Yeah, I don't know you. I don't trust you. No. And then I delete you from my contact list.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
And it's kind of weird in the sense that I can't imagine that way of operating actually works very well. Like it can't, they must be spending hours and hours doing this without much in the way of return. I just don't see who responds positively to that kind of immediate, like, will you marry me? Even though you don't even know me.
Imagine doing that in person. You're at a networking event and you walk up to someone, "Hi, I'm Sarah. This is my offer. Will you buy?"
Right.
I would never.
Yeah, exactly. So building a relationship, and I know that you have your own podcast. I know this because I was just a guest on your show.
Yes, it's being released on Sunday.
All right. So now, how do people find your show? We'll just plug it.
Yeah, it's absolutely everywhere. It's Tiny Marketing Show.
Okay.
So anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it's also on YouTube.
All right. So stay tuned for the Sunday edition of the Tiny Marketing Podcast Show, because I'm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing, like with this kind of guest interview type of presentation, the big benefit, in fact, it's really the main reason that I do it, and I'm guessing that you do too, is that you're doing relationship building with everybody who you meet. And it's a huge bonus of putting out, like, this is content, but it's really about networking, and it's really about who can you bring on who's like super interesting, doing something really cool that you can actually learn from. Like, yes, I'm helping my audience learn things,
Yeah.
but guess what? I get to learn the most because I'm the one who's here every single time.
I feel smarter after I interview everybody. I'm like, oh my God, I just absorbed so much knowledge. But you're totally right. And when I started my show, I started it in 2020 as a live stream show like this. And it was just to build relationships. It was just to meet people. And I would interview people I had marketing crushes on. And um, it I just wanted business friends. That was my only goal. But then they turned into referral partners. And most of my referrals come from people who have been on my show, which is just nice and wasn't planned. And that we talked about outreach strategy and how to connect with people. And one of the best ways to get people to want to connect one-on-one with you is to offer them something. So if you have a show, you're able to offer them, hey, I can spotlight you in the show. You can be the expert guest on this show. Or if you have a community, you can reach out to people that you want to connect with and say, hey, do you want to be an expert speaker and speak in my community? There's just having your content marketing platform, your core content, is such a great way to build relationships too, if you do it right.
Yeah. And I kind of put in the context of, it's really good to have something that's an easy yes, that you
Yeah.
can gift to people and say, how would you like to come and be on my show? Be the special guest on upcoming episode. And most people will respond positively to that, almost no matter who they are and how big they are. And I know that I've definitely had some people on who I had a kind of marketing crush on, or they were just someone who I'd been admiring for a long time. And now I get to, meet and interview one of my heroes, which is terrific,
It's
And
me. Just joking.
right, exactly. And so, all right. So now we're talking about this. Now I want to move into another realm, which is that, so now we're networking, we're meeting people, we're interacting with them. What are the kinds of strategies you can put in place so that we're not getting lost in the networking? I mean, for instance, when I go to a conference, an actual in-person conference, the opportunity or even the temptation is to run around and meet as many people as possible. And a friend of mine who teaches networking, she describes these people as the skunks who have their pile of business cards and they're literally spraying their cards around the room as quickly as they can.
That's a good visual.
Right. So we don't want to do that. In fact, I've really tempered my attitude about going to a conference, which is I come to it thinking, well, I'm very likely to meet one person who's going to become a really good friend in the long term. And if I come away from this conference having that happen, that makes this whole time here a big success for me. And
that's my only goal.
Right.
To make
and
friends.
usually that's what happens. But it's a small number. Like, it's not anything like, oh, I need to meet this many people or some big quota of something. It's, well, I want to build a relationship with a very narrow group who's exactly the right person, whether they're somebody who could be a client or there's somebody who could be a partner and collaborator in the future. Either one, they're both terrific. And so how do you counsel your clients in terms of putting a kind of focused blinder thing on of now we're going to do this type of networking and engagement, but we're not going to go crazy in terms of the amount of time we put in, the number of people that we talk to, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So I try and do that within the messaging. If you're owning the networking event or the outreach strategy, you have ownership of it. So you have ownership of the messaging and who it goes to. So I make sure the messaging is really on brand. So it's very clear who I'm talking to and who I want to reach and who I don't. So having that attract and repel messaging in your copywriting is really important. And keep in mind, this is when you own the networking experience. And then the other thing is being really, really intentional about who your target audience is and creating a community around that. So when I started creating my live workshops, the first thing I did was create a community on Meetup. So I'm able to define exactly who should be attending these workshops, and Meetup fills that community for me, and I just have to post my events there. So it makes it really easy. So my number one piece of advice is just be super clear in your messaging on who you're trying to reach when you're owning it.
Yeah, I like that. So tell me more about the meetup stuff you're doing. Like, how often do you do it? Um, and just what is that like? I mean, I've gone to many meetups. I've done my own meetup for a while, and it's interesting from the point of view of some of them are really focused and really well attended. Like, they're definitely a type of watering hole, and if that's your watering hole, it's a really good place to go. Other ones seem almost random.
There are, because anyone can create a meetup group.
Right.
So in my experience, I created one, and then I put on events every 6 weeks, workshops for them. And it's, the people that I would want to buy, I would want to purchase my product. And it's also people that are local, because I really wanted to build more in real life relationships, in-person relationships. So I wanted the opportunity to work with more people that were local, where now my clients are all over the country, all over the world, actually. So I wanted it really local.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, okay. So, and then just getting into the whole thing, like, now that we're clearly in the clear of post-pandemic and we can meet up.
Yeah.
So it's, anybody's thinking about this is a time to possibly put this kind of networking marketing strategy into practice. And it's, starting your own meetup is simple. You just go on to meetup.com and say, okay, I want to do this. But talk a little bit about your experience with hosting an event like that and the balance between being the workshop leader, presenter, and actually making room and space for people to meet one another and network with each other.
So for myself, I use it as a distribution channel for my workshops, because I'm not only just posting them there. I have them advertised on LinkedIn. I have them on my website. I have them on Eventbrite. I am doing guest appearances to promote my workshops. My goal is to get in front of as many of the right fit audience as I can for them and fill them. And then they're interactive workshops, so there's plenty of time to chat, and there's work time with music and timers. So we're doing a lot of heavy work within the workshop. But then afterwards, I provide a nurturing experience where there's a community that they can interact with each other. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people are missing, is when you have this outreach strategy, like an event, we'll go with a virtual event, and since that's what I do, then if you're selling a service, it's very unlikely that people are going to buy right on the spot. You need to nurture that experience and create a community so that you can build trust and build that one-to-one relationship. So my advice would be, after you're having that networking experience, then move them into the nurture experience, where you connect with them one-on-one. You aim to just 15-minute talk once a quarter. That should be your goal with them. And have a little parking lot, we'll say, with a community where they can, watch some of your videos. They can interact with each other, ask questions, just have an available space to continue that relationship and that interaction. And I think that's the way to go, because a lot of times you'll meet people and then it'll just fall off. That relationship dies. So you need to make sure that you're maintaining that relationship. And those are my 2 steps after an event or some sort of networking thing, is try to get on one-to-one calls at least once a quarter and create a community, a space where they're consistently interacting with me.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, that's probably a really good note for us to close on. We're just at the end of our time today. If there is one inspiring thing you'd like to say for small business person who's feeling beleaguered because they don't feel like they have a lot of time and money to do their marketing, what would you like to say to them?
Well, you're not alone. You're feeling burned out, and that's reasonable because you've been told that you have to do all of the things, but you don't. You only need to have one outreach strategy that's effective and go from there. Try my 1x4 marketing strategy. Just you can implement it yourself. I even had an episode most recently that describes exactly what you need to do. And you'll find that you can get all of your marketing done in a really limited amount of time. I do the 1x4 strategy for myself, and it takes me 4 hours a week. And I have a podcast. You don't have to have a podcast. That's what takes up the majority of the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, if people want to hook up with you, I know we talked about your podcast, so go check out the Tiny Marketing Show podcast. And you also have a lead magnet.
Yes. So you can, if you want to share that, yeah, right there. You can go to sarahnoelblock.com/standout. And I have one, you can attend the replay of the lead magnet workshop. And you can also find my show there and get 50% off of your 1x4 marketing strategy.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So that's, say it slowly, sarahnoelblock.com/standout.
Yep.
And that'll get you there. All right. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
And if you're listening at the end, I just want to remind you that all of the archive of the Standout Business Show is at standoutbusiness.show. You can listen to all the video, all the audio, binge to your heart's content, get all the extra resources. And we go live every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Until the next time, so long.